If you have studied or enjoyed Greek and Roman mythology, it's likely that you are familiar with the Cyclops, the one-eyed giant figure. Personally, the Cyclops always stood out to me more than other creatures, probably because the image of a giant with a single eye in the middle of its face is both weird and disturbing. Before delving deeper, I want to address an interesting topic that has been on my mind for a while: the collective or plural term for a Cyclops. When I was younger, I used to refer to them as Cyclopses, but that is incorrect. Upon further investigation, it turns out that this is a subject of debate, with various intriguing ideas being proposed. Some suggestions include a pack of Cyclops, a herd, or even Cyclope in some cases, which amusingly sounds like a one-eyed octopus. However, the term that most people seem to agree upon when referring to multiple Cyclops is Cyclopes, and that is how I will refer to them in the rest of this video. The word Cyclops itself roughly translates to circle-eyed or round-eyed, which accurately describes the giant eye located in the middle of their forehead. Now, let's explore the origins of the Cyclopes. They were the offspring of Uranus and Gaia, making them siblings to the Hecatonchires and the Titans. According to the Greek poet Hesiod, the Cyclopes, along with the Hecatonchires, were seen as monstrous by their siblings and their father. When the Titans overthrew Uranus, Cronus imprisoned both the Hecatonchires and the Cyclopes in the depths of Tartarus, guarded by a dragon to ensure their eternal captivity. The reasons for this imprisonment are open to interpretation. It could be that the Titans were afraid of the Cyclopes and their immense power. Alternatively, they may have viewed them as the same or simply disliked their differences. Whatever the exact motivation, the Titans chose to confine their own brothers rather than rule alongside them on Earth. The Cyclopes and the Hecatonchires remained imprisoned in Tartarus until they heard a voice from above. It was Zeus who offered them freedom in exchange for their assistance in the Olympians' battle against the Titans. They accepted Zeus's proposition, and when the war concluded, the Cyclopes and the Hecatonchires were released. They then assumed the roles of craftsmen and guardians to the gods and their secrets. Hesiod mentioned 3 Cyclopes by name: Argos, Brontes, and Steropes. These Cyclopes, considered the children of Uranus and Gaia, were regarded as the craftsmen of Olympus. Their names were closely associated with blacksmithing and masonry, and they were often depicted in their forge. Practically every trinket, artifact, weapon, or piece of armor used by the gods originated from the Cyclopes or Hephaestus. The Greek poet Callimachus referred to the Cyclopes as the helpers of Hephaestus. The sounds emanating from volcanoes were often attributed to the Cyclopes and Hephaestus working at their forge. Among their creations were Zeus's thunderbolt, Poseidon's trident, and even Hades's helmet of darkness. These extraordinary artifacts arguably played a significant role in the gods' success and the dethroning of the Titans. Zeus's thunderbolt is particularly fascinating because each of the 3 Cyclopes contributed an element that reflected their name. Argos, associated with brightness, added radiance. Brontes, known as the Thunderer, contributed thunder. Steropes, the Lightner, introduced lightning. Thus, Zeus's iconic thunderbolt came into existence through their collaboration. The Cyclopes also crafted Artemis's moon bow and Apollo's sun bow. It is ironic to consider this when examining the play Alcestis by the Greek poet Euripides. In this play, Apollo was furious when Zeus killed his son Asclepius with a thunderbolt. Instead of retaliating against Zeus, Apollo sought revenge on the Cyclopes, the creators of the thunderbolt. He presumably used the bow crafted by the Cyclopes to kill them. However, this act only further angered Zeus, who punished Apollo by making him serve King Admetus in Thessaly for a year. Zeus, who had developed a fondness for the Cyclopes due to their assistance, traveled to the underworld and resurrected them, including Asclepius. Some versions of the myth suggest that the Cyclopes were not resurrected but instead haunt the volcano Mount Etna in Sicily. Euripides wrote a play called Cyclops, drawing inspiration from Homer's Odyssey. In this play, there is only one Cyclops living on Mount Etna. This portrayal differs greatly from Hesiod's description. The Cyclops in this play is an angry, cannibalistic, and unintelligent character who ends up being blinded and punished for his lack of hospitality.
Moving on to the most famous Cyclops story, it features the encounter between Odysseus and Polyphemus in Book 9 of the Odyssey. Odysseus and his men land on the island of the Cyclopes near Sicily. Homer describes the Cyclopes as giant one-eyed shepherds, children of Poseidon and the nymph Thoosa. Desperate for provisions, Odysseus and his men enter a cave, unknowingly belonging to Polyphemus, who returns with his cattle. The Cyclops blocks the entrance with a massive stone and devours 2 of Odysseus's men. The next morning, 2 more men become his meal. Odysseus and his men devise an escape plan. When Polyphemus returns home that evening, he eats 2 more men. Odysseus offers him undiluted wine, causing the Cyclops to become drunk. Polyphemus asks for Odysseus's name, promising a gift in return. Odysseus cleverly responds, "My name is Nobody." Polyphemus promises to eat Nobody last. Taking advantage of the situation, Odysseus blinds Polyphemus with a hardened stake. Polyphemus screams for help, claiming nobody harmed him, leaving the other Cyclopes confused. In the morning, Odysseus and his men tie themselves to the underside of Polyphemus's sheep to escape the cave unnoticed. Once outside, they sail away, but Odysseus boasts about his victory, revealing his true name. Polyphemus informs his father Poseidon, who retaliates by showering rocks on Odysseus's ship. They barely escape. In Roman mythology, the poet Virgil mentions Polyphemus in what he considered a sequel to Homer's story, the Aeneid. Aeneas and his crew land on the same island and encounter a man from Ithaca who was left behind during Odysseus's expedition. The man tells them of Odysseus's escape and the Cyclops. They witness a one-eyed giant leading cattle to the shore, washing his bloody eye socket and groaning in pain. When Polyphemus spots them, he gives chase, but they sail away, leaving him and the other Cyclopes screaming in the distance. Polyphemus also appears in a love story, presumed to occur before he was blinded. Several poets, including Ovid, tell this story. Polyphemus falls in love with the nymph Galatea, but she rejects his advances. Instead, she falls in love with a man named Assus. Polyphemus, being less than adequate in his response, smashes Assus with a giant boulder. The blood from the kiss forms a river named after the tragedy, and Polyphemus becomes the spirit of that river. The portrayal of Cyclopes varies across Greek and Roman poets. Hesiod views them as skilled craftsmen, while Homer depicts them as wild cannibals living in the mountains. Their loyalty to their own kind is minimal. The concept of one-eyed creatures extends beyond Greek and Roman mythology, with examples found in other cultures, such as Balor in Irish mythology. Over the years, my perspective on Cyclopes has changed. Initially, I saw them as evil monsters due to portrayals in movies. However, there is more complexity to their nature. I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. Did you prefer the monster or craftsman version of Cyclopes? As always, thank you for joining me on this exploration of mythology and fiction.